Hey guys, welcome to the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. In today's video, we are going to take DALLE-2 to the next level. So we are going to build our own application that does exactly what DALLE-2 does, but of course it uses the API. So instead of doing this on their website, you do this on your own application, and you could do this and build your own app and then sell it out there, and people are already starting to do that, and then you can actually charge people and make a bit of a profit from it. And so it's up to you how you want to use it, but we are going to create a Flask application where you can just enter a prompt and then it uses the DALLE-2 API to generate you some images, and then you display them to the users, and the users can then view the images, download them, or do whatever they want to do. It's going to be a very simplistic app, so just let's follow along. Okay, so for the admin stuff, the video that you're watching right now, just remember to like that video and remember to subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications, and that way you'll be notified every time that I produce a new image on this channel. Okay, a new video on the channel, right? Generally it's around every 2 weeks, every week or so, that we'll have new content. Okay, also, so you don't miss out on a lot of information, have a look at the description bar underneath the video that you're watching. All right, so just scroll down and say show more, and then open it up, and then you're going to see a lot of information. I'm going to link every time I say I'm going to link this in the description below. I'm going to link it in there. So all the stuff that I'm going to cover, I'm going to link in there. And of course, there's my contact information, links to our social pages, and all sorts of interesting stuff inside of that description as well. All right. But today's video is not only focusing on DALLE-2, it's going to be a nice learning video for people that if you want to learn Flask, and also if you want to learn Bootstrap, okay, and how to create sort of like HTML using Bootstrap. I think that's the most commonly used CSS and JavaScript library that's out there, that's open source. So I'm going to cover that as well in this video, because we're going to use our Python Flask and a Bootstrap 5, which is the latest one, to create this. Of course, you need to already have an OpenAI account. Hopefully you've got your DALLE activated as well. And then once you're ready to go, let me show you the application that we're building. All right, so this is what it looks like. Okay, it looks similar to what you'll see on the DALLE-2 page there, for example. Okay, so you're going to be able to enter a prompt. Okay, so let's refresh this page and start from scratch. Do not resubmit the form. Let's just refresh and the empty page without anything on it. Okay, it just tells you a bit about creating an image, and then it's just a form that gathers your prompt, and then you click on generate an image, and it generates an image. So what image you want to generate today? I love honey badgers, so I'm going to say a honey badger sitting. Okay, what you must also describe the type of image that you want, right? So I'm going to say a photorealistic image of a honey badger sitting on their sofa watching TV and watching TV while drinking some beers. Some beers assumes it's more than one beer at a time, right? So let's see our AI trying to build us an image of a couple of honey badgers, or one honey badger specifically, that is watching TV and drinking beers. All right, there you go. All right, and this is great, isn't this nice? So photorealistic is like a different type of style, and I love it. I totally love it. Okay, so hey guys, there we go. And so you can do this and do exactly what DALLE-2 does, and you can build this website for yourself. You can charge people for this and do whatever you want with it, and that's what we're going to cover in this video, exactly how I built this application using DALLE-2 and OpenAI API. So let's get started. Cool. So to get started, let's head over to the DALLE-2 website. So FYI, if you haven't accessed a DALLE-2 before, you can just like Google for it. So that's normally how I find it, and that's just the best way to get the right link. But I will put in the link in the description below. However, you could just Google DALLE-2 just like that, and it's probably going to be the first thing that comes up. And then you can click on that link that comes up over there, and it will take you to the DALLE-2 website. And when you get there, you will see it is the OpenAI website. Just log in if you already have an account, or you can sign up to create a new account. And it's a very simple and painless process. I do have another video I've done on DALLE-2 where we just explore the online functionality of it and how you can like design your prompts to create interesting images. And you can have a look at that if you are more interested in the front end part and like just generating images off the website, because you could just give it a prompt, it will give you an image, and there's a download link that you get. You can just click on it and download. But this video is going to be slightly different. This video is going to focus on the API reference, which is what a lot of the viewers on my channel subscribe for, because I am going to show you how to write code and use the API that OpenAI sort of makes available to go ahead and create applications that use this functionality. So the application we're going to do today is I'm going to try the first thing is I'm going to try and create some like what we did with the GPT-3, where we try to think about what kind of things people would want to create and, sort of like direct them towards the prompts, right? So we'll try and say, our website will create, I don't know, illustrations, 3D renders, just interesting images. But what I really want to check out today is, can I create something like a cartoon image of myself? Like if I upload my own image, can I cartoonify it? All right, that's interesting, and I really want to check that out. So if you go to the API documentation, and I will put the link in the description below, but if you miss it, it's just very easy to find. Once you're on the DALLE-2 website, you just click on API, right? Once you've signed up, you just click on API, and then it will take you to another page once you've signed up, and there will be like a menu at the top, and one of the menu items at the top is documentation. So in the future, if you want to navigate to the documentation, that's how you get there. Now, when you get here, on the left, my left, is the navigation, of course, of the entire documentation that OpenAI provides. There's a quick start tutorial and a lot of guides, and then the API reference. So we're gonna focus more on the API reference because we're looking at how to actually write and structure our code on the API. And there's a lot of stuff you can do on API, but we are more interested in the images, right? So click on the images part of the menu, and then it will take you to this part, and this is obviously where the documentation starts. Given a prompt or an input image, the model will generate a new image. It's just very simple. It works the same way as what DALLE does on their website, but obviously we want to create an application which does this because maybe we want to sell it to people and make some money and find some interesting features of so that's why we want to build an application around it, right? And to simplify things today, I'm going to build this application on Flask, all right? Because Django just takes an entire video of 2 hours just setting it up, and I think this is way simpler than that. And I'd like to hopefully finish this whole video in one tutorial. So we get your Flask sort of fingers pumping. But so this is how you get started. All right, there's the URL over there. They're showing the URL, and then they're showing you the example code. Okay, you import OS, import OpenAI, and then you need to have the API key, and then you sort of initialize the API key, and then you create your image like that. Okay, so this is gonna be the code, but before we can obviously run this code, we need to get the application up and running. So we need to actually just create a boilerplate Flask application, and then just make sure that it runs fine, and then we can then write this code inside of maybe a function, and then we can then try and generate some images. And then what OpenAI returns looks like it returns a response which is going to have the URL on an HTTPS location, which means if you then just display that URL, you should be able to see the image that it has generated for you, and we'll see how many images it generates there. Okay, and then the code for editing an image is quite similar. So for creating an image, it looks like you say image create, right? And for editing an image, you will say image create edit, and then I think that's it, right? And there's also image create variation. So we'll try all three of them, but I think if you tried one, you'll get an idea of how everything works. Okay, so we're gonna pause the OpenAI stuff for a bit and let's get our application up and running. So I'm going to simplify things quite a bit for you. On my GitHub page, I have a GitHub repo that is a Flask template which you can use so that you don't have to restart generating a Flask template from scratch. It's nothing complicated. It just like gets the folder structures in the way that they need to be. It's a blank Flask application that will run the first time. Okay, so so you need that. Those are the prerequisites. So I'll put also this link in the description below. The next thing you need is just a code editor. I'm not going to write my code in the on my local machine. I'm going to write my code in my virtual server because I don't write any code in my virtual machine. Okay, so I have a sort of a virtual server running right now. It's running on DigitalOcean Droplet. I'll put the link also in the description below. If you want to get started with DigitalOcean, you can have a look at that. And so I'm running an empty folder. There's nothing in here, as you can see if you press ls. There's nothing in this folder, so we're gonna start everything from scratch. We're going to pull the GitHub repo, and then we're gonna start running the application from scratch. But before we do anything on here, we just need to create a virtual environment. Okay, virtual environment is very important for Python programming because that's where we're going to save all of our libraries and everything that we sort of download or whatever. Okay, and we can create the virtual environment in the same location where our folder and our files are gonna sit. Okay, so we can call this DALLE2 environment, and how you do virtual environment is you say virtual env, but obviously you need to have installed virtual environment to do this. If you don't know how to do that, if you're like running on a clean machine and you haven't installed virtual environment yet, you can just simply Google how to install virtual environment. Alternatively, you can look at our Scholar Online documentation. All right, we do have a get started with Django, where we actually install the virtual environment for Django. I think it's just down here. So this is the code for installing virtual environment. If you didn't have it before, you just do pip3 install virtual env. But I already have my virtual environment installed. I'm not going to install it again. So I can just start by creating a new one. Okay, so you just say virtual env, and whatever it is, the name of the virtual environment that you want to create, I'm just going to call it DALE2 env, like that. And it'll go and create it. If you do ls again, you'll see now there is a folder called DALE2 env. That's your virtual environment. I'm just going to activate it. So I'm going to activate the virtual environment. You just do source, the name of the environment, you say bin activate. Then you'll see the virtual environment in brackets there before. So do this before you do anything else, because everything we install going forward, we're going to need the virtual environment. And just before you forget, if you look at the API code, which is sitting, where is it sitting? API reference. You see over there, you have to import OS, and then you have to import OpenAI inside of the Python. What they don't show you here, which is available on the get started part, is that you need to actually install OpenAI. This OpenAI is a library that is not available by default inside of Python the first time. So you actually have to install it, but you would have to run your virtual environment first. Then after you do that, you just do pip install OpenAI. Okay, this is important. Do this at the beginning so you don't forget to do it later. And it'll go and it'll install it, and while it's doing that, we can then get ready with our our code. So just go into that. I'm gonna link this in the description. When you get there, you see where it says code over there, just click down there to open that drop down menu, and then you'll see at the top here is the clone options that you can clone via HTTPS or SSH. Okay, this is an open it's an open, what you call it, repo, so you don't need to have specific access. So even the HTTPS will work. Okay, so if you come up here, now it's finished installing. We're just going to clear this page, and you just basically do git clone. All right, and then you just paste that link that you copied, and then it's going to go and clone that repo for you. And just what I wanted to notice is Git clone is working for me because Git is already installed globally inside of this virtual server. And if you do get your virtual server from DigitalOcean, you will have also Git a clone. If you get it from other places, I'm not sure how other places work, but if you do use my link, you will get this command will work the first time you run it. Okay, so once you've done that, if you now do ls, you'll see now we've got two folders. We've got this Flask template and that one. All right, so once we've done that, we can now cd in here, because we're gonna run everything from in there. All right, and once we've cd'd in there, you can see if you list, you've got all the files. In fact, you can list in a list, that's better, so you can see it properly. You can see all the files that we've got. We've got obviously the static folder is where we're going to keep all our static assets, but because I'm going to use very basic Bootstrap for this application that I'm building, I'm not going to even focus, I'm not even going to have static folder in this specific case, so you don't even have to worry about it. Templates is where we're going to put all of our HTML files, and maybe we'll have just one or two for this application. And obviously the config file is always important. This is where we're going to put all of our secret things. You might want to exclude it from Git, but this time I didn't. It doesn't matter. I will then just change it. And then app.py is if you can just open it by saying nano app.py. This is where the magic is going to happen. So all our files are going to be in here. I'm actually just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it in here in this way I'm going to be typing from, because it's easier to type from my personal computer, from my text editor. And then I will just once I've finished rendering whatever it is that I'm doing here, I'll just transfer the code back into the virtual server, because I want to actually run everything on the virtual server. All right, so if you've done that, you can close that, and then you can see what's going on. And then obviously the readme is the readme file. Don't worry about that for now. You can even delete it if you want. So I'm going to actually remove the readme. No, actually I'm going to remove the static because it's a folder, right? Then I'm going to when I remove also the readme file, I don't need that. Okay, and if you open let's list this again. If you open the config, right, let's just have a look at what's there. The config.py file, it's just basically our configuration. You need to I'm gonna copy this as well, and maybe create another file, new file, doc2.py, doesn't matter. Paste that in there. So over here you want your secret key for your application. This is very, very important, but I'm doing this test application which I'm going to get rid of as soon as I'm done, so it doesn't matter what I put in here. But you want to, obviously, when you're building a real application, be secure about this secret key. And then over there you can see you could have different configurations for different levels of development. This is normally the case with Flask applications, and inside of your app.py file you will pick which config is the relevant one, and so forth. And then, but I'll show you when I enter my code and how that would work going forward. All right, so with that said, let me see, can we actually, let's see, my app.py has got rendering on the index.html. So let's just have a look at cd. Actually, let me just open, it's inside of this templates folder, so I can just say nano templates and then index.html. You should open that file in there. You can see what's on there. So there's nothing really, it's just like a sort of like boilerplate, stuff for an index.html file. All right, so let's just like then clear all of this, and then if you just say python app.py, right, there's no module named Flask of K, so you have to actually import Flask, pip install Flask. All right, so we've done that, pip install Flask, and then we can then try the command again, python app.py. All right, and it's running on port 48, because that's the port that I specified there. I don't know if that port is open, so I'm going to exit this. All right, and I'm going to open app.py, and I'm going to specify a different port. But this is if you're working with a virtual server, just make sure that you specify a port that you have opened. All right, and that you have your firewall up. That's very, very important. I cover all of these when I do your virtual server setup. There's videos, lots of videos on doing your virtual server. 8116, 811. I think I have this one open. I don't know, we'll see. Then let's run the application. Yeah, it is a development server. We're quite away, and then you can just copy that link that Flask gives you there. And if everything is well, we should see that blank HTML page being rendered without issue. There you go. So our Flask application runs fine. So now we can continue and go ahead and actually start to put the code together for what it is we're trying to build. So let's go back to our app.py file, right? What I want to start with is I've already done this now behind the back in the background, but what you need to do is that you need to go to your OpenAI, right? You need to log in to your I don't think you can get it from here, but you need to get your OpenAI API key. So if you do this and open the OpenAI API, there you go. You're gonna log in again, and then you need to get your API key. So let me actually log in here. Is it gonna ask me for my password again? Oh no, I'm not gonna go through this again. But put in your password, put in your username, everything that you've created your OpenAI account with. Then it has sort of like a menu that looks similar to this but slightly different. It has other things in here, including the documentation page and all of that, links to examples and a lot of other things. So it's different from the DALLE-2 page, but at the top you will still see your profile name. Just click on it, and when the menu opens, there's a an option for view API or view your API keys. There's definitely specifically an option that talks about the API keys. Just go in there, click on it, and then generate a key. They'll only display the key to you once. So once you get it, keep it in a safe place, because if you lose it, you have to generate a new key. All right, so get that key from there, and once you got it, inside of your config.py file, this config.py file, right? Remember, I copied the contents in here. All right, inside of there is a secret key that you added first. This is for your application. Every application is that. Then add your API key, paste it from where you got it from. Okay, so this one I have here is just an example of what it would look like. It just says SK get your API key from OpenAI, but you would have gotten yours, just paste it in here. That's all you need to do with this file. And once you've done that, you can even close the config file. I know it says doc2 now, but it's really the config file. So inside of your application that you're running over here, the application that you're running, make sure that inside of this config file, the way I've showed you, you can create another variable underneath underneath the secret key. Make sure the indents are exactly the same. You can call it OpenAI key, or call it whatever you want, but and then paste your key in there. And then that's very, very important. Do that first. Once you've done that, right, then you can from inside of your app.py file, you can then access your config variables, and I'll show you how you're going to be able to do that. Now we're going to go back to the documentation and have a look at our first example, right? So this is the Python code. Obviously they've got curl and node, so we're going to focus on the Python. So the first thing you need to do is to import OS and OpenAI. So we're going to import these two things here at the top. Just after the import config, import OS and import OpenAI. Then once you've done that, you need to then say OpenAI key. You need to initiate your OpenAI variable. All right, so just paste that in there. OpenAI, it's that same OpenAI in there. .api key is the os.getEnv. This variable that goes in here is actually your OpenAI key, whatever it was. You could even paste it directly in here if you want, instead of putting it inside of your config.py file. But in my specific case, I need to put it inside of the config.py file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this here, right? And put it on after you have initialized, and then because we're going to need the app variable that has already been initialized with the config so that we can access the variables out of the config, this must come after that. If you put it in front of that, it's not going to work, because we're going to in here get the variable from the config file which has been initiated over there. And the way to do that is you just say app.config like that, app.config like that, right? And then the Flask method of doing that is that, and then you get that variable, whatever the variable name that you gave it. So in here, I think we called it OpenAI key. So whatever that variable that you gave it, you're gonna just paste that in there. All right, and then you're gonna initialize your whatever, and you're gonna test that it works just now by running this function. So this here, if I have to put a note here, I would say is to initialize the OpenAI library with the key saved in the config file. That's what we are doing there. Here we are initializing Flask, and what we're doing over here is that we are we're not initializing really, we are creating the 404 page. This is optional, by the way, you don't have to do it, right? But it's a good practice, especially if you want to display your own 404 page. If you've designed a nice 404 page with some nice images in there, you can definitely display your own. And this is obviously the view functions. And over here is to run Flask. That's what's happening at the bottom there. All right, so now generally I don't like to write my functions in the same file that my view functions are in. I like to separate them. So generally I would have created a whole new file and called it functions.py or whatever, and then wrote my functions in there. But I think today in our application we're going to have 1 or 2 functions, and this is such a small application that I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm going to write my functions over here. But just to be clear, let's just create some space so that I know what this is, what I'm doing over there, and I've separated my application in a way that is easy to understand. All right, so over here I'm going to say start functions, right? And then I'm going to just copy that and paste it there and say end functions. And I'm going to just write my functions in here in this space, right? So the first function that we're going to write is a function to I'm going to say just create image from prompt. That's the name of the function. I'm using camel case method of writing the variable. Okay, camel case is you start with a small letter and every other word is a capital letter. There's many types of cases that you can work with in Flask. This is, for example, what we call snake case, and this is camel case. I like to use camel case for functions and snake case for variables, so we don't mix them up. And it depends on what you do, but it's really up to you. So I'm going to say that create an image prompt, image from prompt, and over here I'm going to say maybe prompt. Maybe we're going to feed in the prompt itself, right, directly. And once we've done that, it's going to go out there and create the image. So I'm going to copy this whole function there, this, right, and I'm going to say paste it there like that. All right, in fact, this is such a short thing that I'm going to just put everything in one sentence so that you can see what's going on here. What's going on here is, to make some space, is you just say OpenAI image create prompt whatever cute baby C otter. So this is the prompt itself, so you can replace this with prompt. That's the prompt that you're feeding into the function. You can say prompt is equals to prompt. Let's make some space. The number is equals to 2. The size is equals to 1024, 1024. So by the way, when you create images using OpenAI, there are different sizes of images you can create. I think there's 1024. There's a smaller one, 512. I can't be sure. But if you read the documentation, you'll see all the different sizes. So this is not, you don't have like the option to decide what size of image you want. Like if you wanted like a 2,000 pixels times, you're not gonna get it. There's specific image sizes that are available, and it also you can see it even in the pricing. So maybe let me just show you that quickly. So if you go to where's the pricing? I think over here where it shows your credits. No, I can't see it. Read the Discord, visit the OpenAI API. This just buys the credits. I want to actually have a look at the pricing page, and I can't find it, and I know it's here somewhere, so I'm just going to revert back to my default and just Google for it. Okay, so DALLE-2 pricing. Where is the DALLE-2 pricing? Why can't I see the pricing? There you go. Oh no. All right, I can't see it, but it's here somewhere. I know I've seen it before, especially when I was paying for it. Oh, there you go. There's a pricing. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So you can see in the images. So I'll link this in the description so that you can see clearly. There's 1024, 1024 resolution. This is the default that's on the on the API documentation. But if you wanted, you could size this down to get 512. It depends on what the image is for. If somebody wanted a thumbnail, for example, I would see no point in paying a whole $0.2 dollars when you could just like get a smaller image, because sometimes, most of the times, you have to resize your images. And one of the biggest limitations of this, in my mind, really is the fact that all the images are square. I would love if they could give us some, landscape images, honestly, because especially with social media and stuff, yeah, that's going to be a challenge. But so you can replace this number here with either 512 or 256. These are the only options available. So once you've done that, I'm actually going to give this this variable a name, and then I'm going to say return that response so that I can see what that response looks like, right? And then inside of my view function, I'm just going to run this on my main page, the index page. I'm just going to say create an image with a prompt. I'm going to say, I don't know, response is equals to that, and then I'm just going to say print response. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to then print the response, and then the prompt that we've decided to work with is a 3D render of a blue tennis ball on green grass, and then we're going to call that function at the top, and we're feeding the prompt into the function, and then we're going to print whatever response that comes out. We're running it in the view function, which means whenever we call this view function, that response, this function is going to run. And then just one thing I just noted now, please do not remove that page not found to under the app Flask. Just take it back. All right, so where it was before when you downloaded this template. Okay, otherwise you're gonna get an error. I was just trying to run it now and I got an error, so just move this back to the top, okay, to where it was before. Then once you've done that, make sure you then copy all of this into where you're running it, because I'm running it from here, and I've just copied this, and then I'm just going to save, and then I'm going to then say Python app.py. So once you have everything running over there, let's just go back and then restart our page. So that's the page. So if you refresh this page, technically the view function should rerun. There's an OpenAI authentication error. It says no API key provided. You can set your API key in code using All right, how is this not provided? Let's just have a look at this again. Config.openai key, I think. Oh yes, of course, this is the problem. All right. The API key should just be not always get environment. In this specific case, it's just the API config key. Okay, so let's just copy that. This is the problem. So let's close that. Let's clear. Let's nano app.py and just like remove. Just paste it here. All right. Then I can just do that, and it will disable that whole line. And then let's run this again. Okay, cool. And let's refresh this. So when you make changes in here, just make sure you are moving them in here as well. So it's running. This time it didn't throw an error. Okay, it's just displaying the page because you shouldn't see any difference, but I should see the response over there, right? So this is the response because I'm just printing the response on my, wherever I'm running this from. So the URL, it actually just gives me two URLs. You can see the response looks exactly the same as what the documentation says, because it says there'll be like an object. So this is one big object, and then it will say created on the date. So there'll be a date at the top, which is exactly what we see. And then there'll be like another variable called data. And then inside of that variable called data, there'll be a list. And then there'll be two depending on what you've given it. So we've said create two of these here. Where's our thing? We said n is equals to 2. So I'm going to make n equal to 3, And then instead of returning response, I'm going to say return response. Inside of response, I want the response.data, which is a list, right? Which is response.data. So then I know that response.data is going to give me this list of URLs. And then later on over here, for example, I can just say, we can iterate through this response to find all the different URLs. And there's nothing else inside of this except a list of URLs. So this is basically just a list of URLs. It says URL and then it says what the URL is. Okay, so let's say we copy that. I want to see if it's going to what image it created. So this is the first image. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. That's the next image. Okay, and by the way, you can reduce these n's, right? You can reduce this n to 2 instead of 3. I mean, you can reduce, and I think if you reduce it, it will probably, like your API credits will will last a little bit longer, because I find that the images are usually very similar anyway, unless if you're really looking for variations. It's taking a while to load, but you can see that's the image over there. I asked for a blue tennis ball on a green grass background. Okay, so that's done already, and that's done already, and they look like pretty similar. Like, how different would a blue tennis ball on a green, so all we need to do inside of our application is to perhaps just display this, right? So what we could do, let me say I wanted to display this response over here. I could just, like, instead of printing it, this response, I could have, like, instead of printing it over there, I could say, for image in, actually, I don't need to do that. We could display this response inside of the front end. So let's look at our HTML. Our HTML templates is this one over there, document.html. So we don't have anything there yet. Let me see. Let's look at our images. All right, so this looks, yeah, there is a bit of a difference. All right, so let me wrap my brain around how to create a front end that is going to be able to, first of all, I think we can do this all at once instead of trying to express, to do the images but putting in the thing at the beginning. We could do this all at once, create a form, collect the prompt from the user, and then immediately display the image back to the user. Let's try that. Okay, so our HTML file is this one over here. So it's not that one. let me stop this, right? And let's open our HTML file. Is this nano template index.html, right? So this is our HTML file, right? You can see it starts there, it ends here. I'm gonna copy it as it is, and I'm gonna paste it over there because we're gonna edit our HTML files from here. All right, in fact, I'm gonna just remove this, you know, shortcut icon and leave it like that. Okay, so this is our HTML file. So the first thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna use Bootstrap. So we're gonna just redo this HTML file to look like proper Bootstrap. So that's the next thing you need. So just go and get started with Bootstrap. I'll put also this link in the description below. So you want the get started introduction link. Okay, so there will be two links I'll put. There will be that one, and I'll put a link of all the examples. All right, so this get started shows you a few examples of what. So this HTML file here is exactly what we've got there. It's just a blank HTML file. It's got nothing on it. So we're gonna get rid of this, and we're gonna do a Bootstrap HTML instead. All right, so we can try either this one, or we can try, yeah, I think this is the one, right? So this one has got both the CSS and the JavaScript, and then you can see over here they are all via CDN, which means that CDN is like a location on the internet that you sort of get for free that just stores these files. That is why then I don't have to put them inside of my own you know, generally I would have put them inside of my own static folder, my static, you know, CSS and JavaScript, but and you can download them from Bootstrap and then put them inside of your own, you know, static folder. But I'm not going to do that. This is a simple app I'm not going to run. This is not good practice if you are building a real life production app, because first of all, it takes a bit of time to download the CDN, so your app will be a little bit slower, you know, and then obviously you have to rely on those CDN host people to keep their system up all the time, right? And you never know, so it's always easier to host it yourself. But for our online YouTube tutorial, I'm not really worried. Okay, so I'm gonna just paste this as it is. So you can see here you've got the CDN for the Bootstrap and so forth. So over there we've got the H1 that says hello world. So instead of hello world, I'm going to use one of the examples. I'm going to use one of the examples over here, right? Because I want to get like a menu at the top, right? So I want to get one of these examples with a menu. So let's have a look. Nav bar fixed. I think this is the one I want to get. So let me just open this in a new tab. So this is what I want. I want this website, right? So I'm just gonna like right click. What I'm doing right now is right clicking or anywhere on the page, and then look for view page source. It shows you the entire source of the page. So I'm just going to like copy the entire source of the page, everything, right? Copy the entire source of the page. I'm just gonna paste it above, actually at the bottom of this, right? Because I just want to get the links here. So I want to get the CSS. So over here where they are showing, over here you can see content. Let's just leave that blank. Author, you can put your name over there, right? Remove that. Over here you can put the title of the website. So I'm going to say Skolo DALE2, and then here where it says no, actually I'm going to remove this. This is not important. It's a canonical link of the website. It's for SEO stuff. So here where it says docs, you know, I'll just paste this next to this, so you can see this is exactly the same. This file is exactly the same file as that. This one is hosted by this CDN, but over here is under docs 5.3. This is assuming you are hosting it yourself somewhere inside of your folder, right? But if you look at the actual file itself, it's bootstrap main.css is the same file, bootstrap main.css. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one and replace it with that link that I have there instead. And then all of these are now your assets. These are like your these are like, you know, on a website, these assets that appear at the top there, right? I don't want any of them, so I can actually just like remove you know, I'm gonna remove all of these links because I'm not gonna do any of that. These are all the fave icons. All right, and then the theme color, I'm also going to remove that for now. And then obviously this is the additional style for this page. I'm going to leave it, right? And then there's another CSS file that's required for navbar fixed CSS. This is a custom style for this page, and I don't know if it's there on CDN, because obviously let me just Google for that. CDN location link. I don't know why they don't know. Where's the CDN for this? They're showing you this is the code for the nav by itself, but I'm just curious about the specific CSS that I don't have. All right, so this is just the example. All right, I'm just gonna remove this because I don't have this file, and let's just hope the page, because you can see this is the nav by itself. So this is the code for the nav bar. This code is the code you are seeing over here on the website that they're showing you how to do the nav bar, nav bar light, BG dark, whatever. So that's the code for the nav bar, and then this is the main website itself. Okay, so let's push the nav a little bit. So this is the code for the nav bar. This is the code for the website. You can see it says, where is it? Where were we? It says, nav bar example. This is an example for a quick nav bar. What have you? Nav bar docs. All right. So I could actually just open this in a new tab and see what's in the docs, how it works. Yeah, it's the same code that we've got there. I'm not seeing the CDN link for the nav bar though. So these are all the different versions. You can have like different versions of it, and it shows you all the things you can do with an nav bar. Okay, color schemes, you can have dark, wara, and containers, nav bar inside of a container, fixed top, fixed bottom, sticky top, sticky bottom, scrolling. You read this when you have time. Okay. And then back to the script, the JavaScript script. So that's why I had this not deleted. So I want to use obviously the CDN version of it. So I'm just going to copy that from there, and then I'll paste it there so you can see it. First of all, it just looks exactly as this. This is actually exactly the same thing, right? So I'm just going to remove the bottom one and use the CDN version of this. And now I don't need this at the top. You can actually have two HTML docs in one document. And then we're going to run this now. And when we run this, actually inside of my Python file, what's in here? Let's remove this. Inside of my Python file, I actually want to I don't want to run this. I want to just highlight it out like that. All right. So let's exit out of here. All right. Let's I just want to see that my page displays properly. So let's remove this file. All right, and then recreate it. And let's just add what we've typed in here. Yeah, just enter what we've typed in here, paste that in there, close, save yes, and then let's just open that app.py. And all I want to do is, I don't want to run this function, the OpenAI function again, and use up credits for nothing. So I'm just going to put hashes in front of these functions so that it just doesn't run anything. It just displays the page. Okay. All right. So let's do Python app.py and have a look at what we've got now. Okay, so let me close this Googling that we're doing. Go back to this page. Let's run it. We should see now actually it worked fine, right? Look at it. It works just fine. So I like this. I like how, but I wish there would be space at the top. So this search we don't need. Can we remove this search? Disabled, home link disabled. Let's just leave those, but let's remove this search. Let's leave that an ordered list over there. Okay, container has got a padding. Does this container have a margin top? Let's give it a margin top 5 so that there's some space in there. I don't know if that'll work. Okay, and then obviously let's get rid of this button with a link, right? So inside of here, we're gonna do all our stuff inside of this, whatever you wanna call it, container. Okay, so instead of saying nav by example, we're gonna just change this to say create a new image, right? Create a new image, right? And then we're gonna have a form. Okay, let's just rewrite this content to say this website uses the latest in DALLE-2 from OpenAI to create new images using artificial intelligence. All right, enter any prompt to generate your image. Okay, you have full what is it, legal access to the images, etc, etc. What this means is that the images generated by OpenAI DALLE, they don't belong to OpenAI. You know, they belong to, like, if you can download it and you can have it, you can use it for commercial purposes, you can use it in a book, you can use it anywhere. Like, for example, these images are, you know, they are brand new created images. They don't belong to anybody, you know, and so you have full creative rights over them, you know, so no one is going to sue you or anything about using those kind of images anywhere else. So that's what I'm trying to say here. So over there, I'm going to create a form. All right. So let's close that. Let's close our documentation. Let's say I want to go into forms. So it's a good thing I've already opened all of this. Maybe I could just search forms. Where are forms? Oh, damn it. Forms, there you go. Overview. Actually, so let's look at forms, layout also. Actually, input groups. Yeah. That's what I want. I want forms input groups. So I want an input group like this one. Okay, so I want to be able to like just enter a text and whatever. So let's see what's there. So this is not the form I want. That's not it. Not drop down, not buttons. Damn it. How do you just form control? Yeah, this is what I want. Just this. Yeah. So it's yeah, it's just that. Label and that. Okay. So I want a form that says so let's copy this text input and put it inside of a form. Right? The action, let's just leave it like that, and it's a post. So inside of the form, I'm just going to enter that label input. So in the label here, I'm going to say label for prompt, and ID we're going to call this prompt. Okay, the placeholder is going to be, I don't know, a pencil illustration of a monkey driving a bicycle. Right. The type is a type text, and the label is going to say enter your prompt, right? So it says enter your prompt. You try to enter a prompt, and then we're going to say this is required. We don't want someone to submit a form without having entered this prompt. And over here we could just have a button, and it can be a type submit, and it can be like a blue button. Okay, so if you go into buttons inside of your Bootstrap, let's see, layout, content, components, buttons, you will see like this button. If you want this button, it's just class btn primary. Okay, that's the blue button. So I'm going to just like enter that in here. So I'm also giving you a Bootstrap lesson at the same time as giving you an OpenAI lesson. So once you've done that, I'm going to say here generate image, right? Generate image. So what should happen here is that you should see a form, and then inside of that form you should see an input MB3. I'm gonna say margin bottom 3. All right, let me say, yeah, let's just leave it with MB3 and a button, and submit the form. Boom. So once we've submitted the form, something must happen, right? After we've submitted the form, at the bottom of the form here, we want to display the image. So let's have a look at images, a responsive image, right? And probably want to display this image in a column, right? So let's say we have div column, and inside of a column we have a div, no, actually not a column, a row, and inside of the row we'll have div, no, we have, this is now a column. We said we're going to have 4 images, right? 3 images. So let's say we want to display those 3 images in equal spaces apart. So we'll need a column LG, we'll need a column 4, right? And then inside of that column we'll display that image, and the source will get that from the response, and out will be, you know, OpenAI DALLE2 image generation. And yeah, and then we'll display the source here. But this source will depend on what gets sent from the view function. So inside of the view function over here, let's now display our prompt. And now this prompt, we don't want it to run on the page itself. We want it to run only when there's been a post request, like when somebody has submitted a form. But before we even get there, let's post this method get and post in front of the app root, just before the function. This is just to tell Flask that this root should be expecting both get and post requests. Okay, so once we've done that, then you can be able to differentiate inside of the function itself what it should do if a request is post, if a request is get, you know, so that it sort of figures out, so you can like sort of like, you know, manage collecting data from forms and things like that. So over here, before you do that, by the way, at the top, when you copy from Flask, when you import from Flask, you must also import request. All right, so this request is the one that you're going to use to see what type of request you're getting, whether it's a get or a post request. So over here, you can then say if request dot method. Okay, we're going to look at the method, which is this method we're talking about there. If request dot method is equals to post, we're only going to do this for post. So if it's get, we're perfectly happy with nothing happening, just displaying the index.html page as it is. But if it is post, we know somebody has submitted a post request. We know that somebody has submitted the form. Then only then we will be able to get the prompt from the form. Okay, and the prompt will be request.post and it will be inside of the form. I think we called it a prompt. Okay, so it will be request.post prompt, and then we will then run our function over there. All right, and then after running our function, we will then send this variable off to the front via the context. Okay, so over here what I'm doing is that I'm just importing all the local variables, so this variable will automatically be so in fact I can call it images, in fact, or I could do something else to simplify this, right? So let me say images is equals to an empty list, right? And this one I'll continue to call it a response, res, and then I will have a look and I will say if the length, right, of res is greater than 0. What this does, because we know this will be a list, remember response to data is a list, so we're going to double check if we got the length of that list greater than 0. We're going to say for img in in response, right, which is a list, right? For img response, we're going to say images, right, append. We're going to append, because remember the list that we're getting, if you go back to the documentation, the list that we're getting is data.url. So we actually just want this URL. We don't want the entire object. So what I want to say here is get this img, which is the instance inside of the list, this instance, and then URL. So you can say get the img.url. So what it will do is that it's sort of just cleaning up the data a little bit, to just make it easier to deal with in the front end. So over here now we will be getting so inside of this list, images will now be just a list of URLs, as opposed to a list of objects. We still have the URL inside of the object, just cleaning it up. And then in the front end, what we can then do now over here, we can now say this column LG4, we can sort of like now use our templating in here to say to loop through the list. So you can say for image in, so I think what did we call the variable? We called it images, right? For image in images, all right, inside of the images, and then over here we'll do end for. So Python Flask and Python Django, the templating works very similar. It's almost the same, right? So you can just like write the same type, the same syntax in how you sort of loop through the functions, the for loops, the if loops, they sort of like work exactly the same if you've worked with me on a lot of the Django stuff that I do. If I want to do a quick app, I'll just do it in Flask, but it's very similar to Django. And then you'll just put in here image, and this is actually the URL, right? That and it's otherwise, instead of saying now, otherwise if we didn't clean it up, we'd have to say image.url, which also would be fine, but let's do it like that here. And then now we'll have a row, right, with 3 images, and they'll be displayed inside of this img fluid, and this will only happen if the length of images is greater than 0. Otherwise this will just be an empty row with nothing in there anyway, with an empty image, because this will just be empty. I want to see what this looks like if there's nothing, for example, when it goes through the get request. Okay, so once we've done that, so let's go and copy all of these back into our server where we're running this from, and then run it and see what we're gonna get this time. Let's run the function app.py, running without issue. Let's have a look at our website. Cool. So we've got the form. We tried to create some margin top. It doesn't seem to be working, so it's fine anyway. Create a new image. This website uses the latest and whatever we typed in there, and you can enter and input there, and then you should generate an image. And we know based on our function over here, it will generate 3 images, and which we will get in a list and send back to the front end, and hopefully we'll display those images at the bottom there. Right, so what image you want to generate? I love my honey badger. Okay, so I'm going to say another thing about using DALLE2, your prompts are very important. Give it an idea of what type of an image you want. So do you want an illustration? Do you want a 3D render, an oil painting, an image, high quality image? So maybe let me say, for example, I want a high quality image of a model of a black model with a red lipstick. Yeah, a high quality image of a black model with red lipstick. Let's see. So it's gonna take a while. There's an error here. Okay, request has no attribute post. So over here, request.post, I'm still thinking of Django, right? So this needs to be request.form. Sorry guys, this is request.form. So let me like stop this and clear and say nano app.py, and over here it's request.form, not request.post. I'm still thinking Django because that's how we do it in Django. All right, so this is request.form. All right, awesome. So let's then run this Python app.py. All right, let's refresh this. And what did I say? What image was I trying to create? A high quality image of an African model with a red lipstick. Right, let's generate. That's another error. Let's see what's the problem now. Oh yes, of course. I'm being silly now. So in here, this request.id is prompt. We need to also name it prompt. Otherwise, it doesn't know what you're talking about. Okay, so we need to say name is equals to, we need to name it prompt because that's how we get the request.form. We get it from the name. All right, so let me just put this in the HTML as well. Sorry guys, I should know these things. I'm just so used to Django, and I've even forgotten like how to do a forms because we don't do it like this. In Django, you don't even have to do manual forms anymore. It just manages all of that for you. So I'm a bit rusty, so bear with me there. So over here, you need to put in a name prompt because otherwise it can't find it. Okay, it can't find the variable that you're looking for. Okay, so that's okay. So let's save this and then let's run this again. Right, so let's try this again. I should like keep this inside of my, you know, a realistic, a high quality image of a high quality image of an African model with red lipstick. All right, let's try this one last time. Okay, I don't see an error now. There should have been an error by now if there was an error, so I think we're good now. This is just now the time it takes OpenAI to do this. All right, so the images take a bit of time to load. So what you could do next time is you could try, remember I told you there was going to be different size images. What were the images again? Now I've completely forgotten. So OpenAI pricing or DALE2 pricing. Yeah, we opened this before. We could try the smaller image. So we could try this 512 times 512. Okay, so inside of our function we could try the 512, which is going to be a smaller image, and maybe it'll take quicker to load. Okay, or we could even do the smaller one, you know. But otherwise, over here, what you see, this is the image it has generated of an African model with red lipstick. I mean, how realistic is this? You can even tell it what background you want. Like, I didn't even tell it a background, so it gave me a black, you know, a white background, black, and just the lipstick, focus just on the lipstick. And over here, I mean, this human being doesn't exist. Let's just start there, right? There is no human being in this world today who looks like, who is this person. This is an artificial intelligence generated image of a potential African woman wearing red lipstick. So this is just quite amazing. This is why I'm saying you can even take this images and use them anywhere else. You know, like you can use this for your marketing campaigns or whatever it is that you're trying to do. I mean, there are areas that are a bit, you can see the little bit of an imperfection here and there, but you know, there you go. So we've built our maybe what I'll do here is I'll have some spaces. I'll try and generate some spaces in here, perhaps between the form and the the images that get displayed and so forth. But yeah, there's your DALE application running using the OpenAI.